What if everything you've been taught about helping others is actually destroying them? Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will challenge everything you believe about kindness, compassion, and love itself. Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet and one of the most documented psychics in history, discovered something disturbing during his thousands of readings. He found that most people who consider themselves helpers, givers, and good-hearted souls are actually interfering with the spiritual evolution of those they claim to love. According to Edgar Cayce, there are certain souls who must walk through fire to awaken, and when you rescue them from those flames, you don't save them. You condemn them to repeat the same lessons again and again. Now, before you click away thinking this sounds harsh or unspiritual, ask yourself this. How many people have you helped who are still in the exact same situation years later? How many times have you given your energy, your money, your time to someone who never changed? And here's the question that will haunt you. What if your help is the reason they never grew? We've been conditioned to believe that a good person always says yes, always gives, always sacrifices. But Edgar Cayce said something that religious institutions don't want you to know. Not all souls are ready to be helped, and forcing help upon them is a violation of cosmic law. In his readings, Cayce identified specific types of individuals who, when helped, become spiritually paralyzed. These people don't need your rescue. They need their consequences. Today, I'm going to reveal the 7 types of people that Edgar Cayce warned us about. Not so you can judge them or cast them aside with hatred, but so you can recognize when your compassion is being weaponized against you and against their own soul growth. Because here's the truth that will set you free. Real love sometimes looks like walking away. Real compassion sometimes means letting someone fall. And real spiritual maturity means understanding that not everyone who asks for help actually wants to change. So if you're tired of being drained, if you're exhausted from carrying people who refuse to walk, if you're ready to learn what true discernment looks like, then you need to hear what comes next. This isn't just advice. This is ancient wisdom that could transform your entire life. But before we go any further, let me ask you something that might sting a little. Are you actually helping people, or are you just making yourself feel needed? Hold that thought, because the first type of person Edgar Cayce warned about will expose the answer. Number 1, the chronically lazy. Now, Edgar Cayce discovered through his readings that laziness isn't just a personality trait. It's a spiritual disease. He said that souls who habitually refuse to participate in their own lives are violating one of the fundamental laws of the universe, the law of action. According to Cayce, the universe rewards motion, effort, and participation. When a soul becomes stagnant, it begins to decay spiritually, and anyone who enables that stagnation becomes karmically entangled with that decay. Listen carefully, because this is where most good-hearted people get trapped. Edgar Cayce said there's a massive difference between someone who is temporarily struggling and someone who has made helplessness their identity. The struggling person will take your assistance and use it as a launching pad. They're looking for a boost, not a permanent crutch. But the chronically lazy? They've discovered something insidious. That there are people in this world who will carry their weight if they just look helpless enough. Watch what happens in nature, because Edgar Cayce always pointed back to natural law. A bird doesn't continue to feed a chick that refuses to leave the nest. A lion doesn't hunt for a grown offspring that won't learn to kill. Nature has a built-in mechanism that says, contribute or perish. It sounds brutal, but Edgar Cayce revealed that this isn't cruelty. This is wisdom encoded into the fabric of creation itself. When you help someone who refuses to help themselves, according to Cayce's readings, you're not just wasting your energy. You're actively participating in their spiritual regression. You're preventing them from developing the soul muscles they came to this lifetime to build. Every time you pay their bills, solve their problems, or clean up their messes, you rob them of something sacred, the satisfaction of their own accomplishment and the strength that comes only through personal effort. Now here's what Edgar Cayce said that will really challenge you. The lazy person needs to feel hunger. Not because we're being cruel, but because hunger is often the only force strong enough to make them move. He taught that discomfort is the soul's alarm clock, and when you keep hitting the snooze button for someone else, you're preventing their awakening. The pain of staying the same must become greater than the pain of change, and if you keep cushioning them from that pain, they will never, ever transform. But it gets worse. The second type of person will actually make you question whether kindness is even worth it. Have you ever given someone everything and received nothing in return? Not even a thank you? Then you've encountered what Edgar Cayce called a spiritually bankrupt soul. And what you're about to learn will change how you see gratitude forever. Number 2. The perpetually ungrateful. Edgar Cayce said something profound in his readings that most spiritual teachers won't tell you. Gratitude isn't just good manners. Gratitude is the evidence that a soul recognizes the divine flow. According to Cayce, when someone receives without appreciation, they're not just being rude. They're demonstrating a fundamental disconnect from universal consciousness. They've placed themselves at the center of reality, believing that everything and everyone exists to serve them. In one of his most powerful readings, Edgar Cayce explained that the universe operates on a principle of reciprocal energy. Everything flows in circles. When you receive a blessing and offer gratitude, you complete the circuit and allow more blessings to flow. But when you receive and give nothing back, not even acknowledgement, you create what Cayce called a spiritual blockage, not just in yourself, but in the person giving to you. You trap their energy in a dead end. Here's what this looks like in real life, and pay attention because you've probably experienced this. You help someone month after month. You sacrifice your own comfort, your own resources, your own peace of mind. And not only do they never say thank you, they actually complain. The apartment you helped them get isn't nice enough. The money you gave them wasn't enough. The time you spent wasn't sufficient. Edgar Cayce discovered that this isn't accidental behavior. This is a soul that has become addicted to receiving and has lost the ability to recognize blessing when it arrives. According to Edgar Cayce, the ungrateful person is operating from what he called the consciousness of entitlement. They genuinely believe the universe owes them. They believe your help is their right, not a gift. And here's the truly disturbing part. The more you give to them, the more entitled they become. It's a spiritual paradox. Your generosity doesn't create gratitude in them. It creates expectation. And eventually, it creates resentment when you can't give anymore. Cayce warned that when you continue to pour into an ungrateful soul, you're not planting seeds. You're feeding a void that can never be filled. He said these individuals have a hole in their spiritual bucket, and no matter how much you pour in, it drains away instantly, leaving them empty and demanding more. The tragedy isn't just that they're taking from you. The tragedy is that by continuously giving, you prevent them from ever feeling empty enough to question why they can't hold on to anything. But if you think that's difficult, wait until you hear about the third type. This one will make your blood boil. Why do some people reject every piece of advice, dismiss every warning, and then act shocked when their life falls apart? Edgar Cayce discovered the answer, and it's not what you think. Number 3. The arrogant and self-righteous. Edgar Cayce said that pride is not just a character flaw. It's a spiritual blindness. In his readings, he explained that the arrogant person is actually terrified, operating from such deep insecurity that they've built an entire fortress of false superiority to protect themselves. According to Cayce, these souls aren't suffering from too much confidence. They're suffering from a complete inability to face their own inadequacy. Here's what Edgar Cayce discovered that changes everything. The arrogant person doesn't want your help. They want your validation. They don't want your wisdom. They want you to confirm what they already believe about themselves. And if you even dare to offer anything that challenges their carefully constructed self-image, they won't just reject your help. They'll reject you entirely and paint you as the problem. Cayce taught that pride creates what he called a barrier to soul growth. It's like spiritual cement that hardens around a person, preventing any new information, any new perspective, any new truth from penetrating. These individuals have decided they already know, and anyone who suggests otherwise is simply wrong, stupid, or jealous. According to Edgar Cayce's readings, this is one of the most dangerous spiritual conditions because the person suffering from it genuinely cannot see their own blindness. Now here's what's fascinating. Edgar Cayce said that even Jesus, even the master teacher himself, walked away from arrogant people. He didn't chase them. He didn't beg them to listen. He didn't try to convince them or prove himself. He simply offered truth, and when it was rejected, he moved on. Why? Because Cayce explained that you cannot force wisdom on someone who is committed to their own foolishness. It's a violation of their free will, and it's a waste of your divine purpose. The arrogant person must fall. Edgar Cayce was very clear about this. These souls have set themselves up so high that the only thing that can break through their pride is hitting the ground. They need to fail spectacularly. They need to be humbled by life itself. And here's the hard part. If you keep propping them up, if you keep rescuing them from the consequences of their arrogance, you prevent the very fall that would save them. According to Cayce, the arrogant soul is on a collision course with reality, and that collision is necessary for their evolution. When you interfere, you don't help them. You delay their awakening. You extend their suffering. Real compassion means stepping back and allowing pride to meet its consequences. And speaking of consequences, the fourth type of person makes all the others look innocent by comparison. Now we're entering territory that makes people uncomfortable, but Edgar Cayce never shied away from difficult truths. So let me ask you directly, what do you do when someone isn't confused about right and wrong? What do you do when they know exactly what they're doing and they're doing it anyway? Number 4. The habitually wicked. Edgar Cayce said something in his readings that modern spirituality desperately wants to ignore. Not everyone is on a path toward light. Some souls have become so invested in darkness that they've made it their home. According to Cayce, wickedness isn't just making mistakes. We all make mistakes. Wickedness is the conscious, repeated choice to harm others without remorse, and then to justify that harm as somehow necessary or deserved. In his trance states, Edgar Cayce described these individuals as souls who have become servants of shadow. He explained that through lifetime after lifetime of selfish choices, some beings create such heavy karma that in their current incarnation, they're almost completely disconnected from their divine nature. They lie reflexively. They manipulate constantly. They cause suffering and feel nothing. And here's what Cayce warned. When you help a wicked person, you don't redeem them. You empower them to do more harm. This is crucial, so listen carefully. Edgar Cayce taught that the universe operates on the principle of karma, the law of cause and effect. When a wicked person faces consequences for their actions, those consequences are actually the universe trying to correct their course. It's cosmic intervention designed to wake them up before they create even worse karma. But when you step in and rescue them from those consequences, according to Cayce, you become what he called an obstacle to divine justice. You're not showing compassion. You're enabling evil. Edgar Cayce discovered through his readings that habitually wicked people will use your goodness against you. They study compassionate people the way a predator studies prey. They learn what words to say, what stories to tell, what emotions to display to get what they want. And the resources you give them, they won't use them to change. They'll use them to go deeper into their wickedness, to harm more people, to create more destruction. Now, Cayce was very clear. This doesn't mean we hate these individuals. It means we recognize them for what they are, and we protect ourselves and others by refusing to be their accomplice. He taught that some souls have chosen a dark path, and our job isn't to drag them into the light against their will. Our job is to make sure they don't drag us into the darkness with them. The wicked person doesn't need your help. They need to face the full weight of what they've become, and only that crushing realization might make them question their choices. But if you think that's heavy, the fifth type is more common than you realize, and you probably know several people like this right now. How many times does someone have to make the same mistake before you realize they're not learning? Edgar Cayce had a specific answer, and it's going to save you years of frustration. Number 5. The incurably foolish. According to Edgar Cayce, foolishness is not about intelligence. Some of the most foolish people he encountered were highly educated, remarkably clever individuals. No. Edgar Cayce said that a fool is someone who refuses to learn from experience. They touch the hot stove over and over and over again, and each time they seem genuinely surprised that it burns. In his readings, Cayce explained that wisdom comes from one source: the willingness to observe, reflect, and adjust. A wise person makes a mistake once, maybe twice, and then changes their behavior. But the fool? Edgar Cayce said the fool is trapped in what he called a cycle of repetitive failure. They ignore advice, reject wisdom, dismiss warnings, and then when disaster strikes, they're shocked, absolutely shocked that this happened to them again. Here's what makes this so difficult. The fool often comes to you in genuine distress. They're in crisis. They're desperate. They're suffering. And every fiber of your being wants to help them. But Edgar Cayce warned, and this is critical, if you look at their history, you'll see this isn't their first crisis. They've been in this exact situation multiple times before. Different details, same pattern. And each time someone rescued them, they went right back to the behavior that caused the problem in the first place. According to Cayce, the fool is drowning in an ocean of their own making, and they refuse to grab the life preserver you throw them. Instead, they thrash and splash and go under. And if you're not careful, if you jump in to save them, they will absolutely pull you under too. Not because they're malicious, but because they're panicking and they have no idea how to save themselves. Edgar Cayce taught that you cannot save a fool. Only life can teach them. Only the accumulated consequences of their repeated mistakes can break through their stubborn refusal to change. And if you keep intervening, if you keep cushioning their falls, you prevent those consequences from doing their sacred work. The fool must finally hit bottom hard enough that they stop thrashing and start thinking. Which brings us to perhaps the most dangerous person on this entire list. This one hides in plain sight. They're charming, they're convincing, and by the time you realize what's happened, you've given them everything. Edgar Cayce called them something chilling, and once you hear it, you'll never be fooled again. Number 6. The Master Manipulator. Edgar Cayce said that manipulation is not just lying. It's a form of psychic vampirism. In his readings, he explained that certain individuals have developed, either in this lifetime or previous ones, an ability to read people's weaknesses and exploit them with surgical precision. According to Cayce, these souls operate from what he called the lower astral realm, meaning they're completely disconnected from love and operating purely from self-interest. Here's what makes manipulators so dangerous. They don't come to you with demands. They come with stories. Edgar Cayce discovered that the master manipulator understands human psychology better than most therapists. They know that good people want to help. They know that kind people feel guilty when they say no. And they use this knowledge like a weapon, carefully crafted and expertly deployed. The manipulator studies you. They watch what makes you emotional. They notice what you value. They observe what makes you feel important or needed. And then, according to Edgar Cayce, they create a performance specifically designed for you. With you, they're the victim who needs rescuing. With someone else, they're the hero who's been wronged. They shape-shift depending on their audience. And if you ever compare notes with others who have dealt with them, you'll discover the stories don't match. Edgar Cayce warned that when you help a manipulator, you're not helping a person in need. You're feeding a system. You're providing fuel for them to continue their games with you and with others. And the moment you stop giving, the moment you see through the act, they will turn on you with stunning speed. You'll become the villain in their next story. They'll tell everyone how you wronged them, how you betrayed them, and they'll move seamlessly to their next target. According to Cayce, the manipulator cannot be fixed by external help because they don't see themselves as broken. They see themselves as smart. They view manipulation as a skill and your kindness as naivety. These souls must face complete isolation, must lose everyone willing to play their games before they'll even consider changing. And finally, the 7th type might be the hardest to walk away from. You've taught them. You've warned them. You've shown them a better way. And they nod. They agree. They promise to change. But they never do. Edgar Cayce explained why, and it's going to break your heart. Number 7. The Unrepentant Rebel. According to Edgar Cayce, these are souls who know better but deliberately choose worse. They're not ignorant. They're not confused. They're defiant. Edgar Cayce said in his readings that these individuals are exercising what he called negative free will, meaning they're using their divine gift of choice to consistently choose against their own highest good and the good of others. What makes this so painful is that you can see their potential. You can see exactly what they could become if they would just stop sabotaging themselves. And so you hold on. You keep believing. You keep hoping that this time will be different. But Edgar Cayce discovered something that every helper needs to accept. A soul cannot be saved against its will. No matter how much you love them, no matter how clearly you see their path, they must want it for themselves. In his readings, Cayce explained that the unrepentant person is locked in what he called rebellion consciousness. They're not just making mistakes. They're making statements. Their destructive choices are, on some level, an assertion of independence, a way of saying, you can't control me. I'll do what I want. And paradoxically, the more you try to help them, the more they rebel, because your help feels like control. Edgar Cayce taught that these souls are on a long journey. They may need to exhaust every wrong path before they're finally ready to walk the right one. They may need to lose everything before they value anything. And that journey is theirs to take. You cannot want their healing more than they want it. You cannot fight for their freedom harder than they fight for it. According to Cayce, your role is not to chase them, not to rescue them, not to prevent their consequences. Your role is to be a lighthouse. You stand firm in your own light, and if they ever decide to come out of the storm, they'll know where to find solid ground. But you don't jump into the ocean to drag them to shore. You let them swim. So what do we do with all of this? Edgar Cayce left us with wisdom that transforms everything. True compassion is not enabling. It's having the spiritual courage to let people face their own karma, their own lessons, their own growth. Your energy is sacred. Your time is finite. Your resources are limited. And according to Cayce, you have a spiritual responsibility to invest them wisely, not wastefully. Not everyone who asks for help deserves it. And that's not cruelty. That's cosmic law. So ask yourself today, who am I helping that I should release? Who am I rescuing that needs to fall? Who am I carrying that must learn to walk? When you find the answer, have the courage to step back. Not with anger, but with love. Because sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is allow someone to experience the full weight of their own choices. That's when real transformation begins. Thank you so much for staying with me through this exploration. If you found value in today's discussion, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who might benefit from it. And if you'd like to go a step further in supporting this work, you can now leave a super thanks below. It's a small way to say thank you, and it truly helps keep this channel going.